This clip is sponsored by American Mobile. If you're a nurse interested in traveling, visit americanmobile.com to get started.
Honestly, it is. It's very different. It's so much more calm. I've done
Really?
quite a bit of time in trauma. Yeah, in trauma units here. And the doctors that you deploy with, our trauma doc, I could not say more good things about him. He just is fantastic. And anytime it got to the point where he couldn't hear which each individual bed was talking about, he would immediately just yell super loud, get everybody calmed down, and he'd be like, "Everybody, shut up." Um, Normal talking voices, and then you would go about. And I mean, you could hear a pin drop at some points during these mass casualty
Wow.
situations. And it was amazing to see how well everybody could work together. I mean, obviously there are crazy times. Like, there was a point where I was running a code and I'm like having to yell to get things because, I only had, it was like me and one other person. And so I'm
Mm.
yelling to get other stuff, like other people to get over there. And it does get a little chaotic, but I'd say 99% of the time it is very calm. It's very organized. We rehearse this all the time. So even
Yeah.
if we're not in a mass casualty situation, we get fake patients, and then we run through it like, okay, this is where you're going to be, and in triage this is what's going to happen, and then this person's going to talk to this person, and you just run through it, and you run through it with people in different roles, so that way
Mm.
it doesn't matter who's there. You still just know, like, this is what I'm going to do, and this is the role of the person that I'm talking to. As the nurse, I'm talking to the doc at the head of my bed. And then that doc is talking to the trauma king or trauma queen, whoever's, in charge of the trauma bay that day.
Mm.
So it just went super, super smooth.
Wow.
Which when I came back stateside, I was like, kind of loud in here.
There's a lot.
So it
There's a
was just
lot going
different.
on.
What's going on? What's go- what's going on? But no, I mean,
That's
and not in a bad
amazing.
way. It's just different. But yeah,
Yeah.
you just reverse it, day in and day out. And I think, like, these are your brothers and sisters, that
Mm.
could be you on the table. And so you just treat it. It's almost like you don't treat them any different than you would civilians, but it does feel like there's higher stakes.
Oh, for
When
sure.
it's somebody that was out there, trying to save your butt. And So yeah, it does get difficult. There was one mass casualty where it was some of our own. It wasn't the medical folks, but it was people from our base that had just been with us the day before, and they got hit by a vehicle IED. And we were working on people that had just been in there, handing out challenge coins and just laughing and joking with us,
Oh my
not even
God.
24 hours before. Um, and that was hard. We ended up having to like crack a chest on somebody that we knew really well.
Mm.
And that was hard. Those were the times that, people talk about that kind of stick with you.
Yeah.
Um, but And so those are the higher stakes, and that's when it got really real, really quick. But
How long had you
you
been
kind of,
there?
so it was probably about 6 months in,
Okay.
to us being there.
Mm.
So yeah, we left not too long after that. I was there for about 9 months.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, so um, obviously can't talk about like the details of what it was or anything,
Yeah.
but it's just really hard, when you're looking there and you're like, that person, like, I just shook this person's hand, and now you're, having to say goodbye. And that's always tough, and it's tough for you, but you also know, I was deployed with kids. I say kids, they were 19, 20 years old, and they've never experienced like death like this.
Yeah.
And so you're having to kind of like, because I mean, we all remember as nurses, like our first patient death.
Mhm.
It's something we all will probably always stick with us.
Yeah.
And there are people there that they're not medical. We had patient administration specialists and lab, like people that weren't direct medical care that had just been talking with these individuals, and they're like, what do you mean they didn't make it? And, like having to kind of walk them through that. And it's a totally different experience.